Guten Morgen, Guten Tag. My name is Manaya, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've done the Pretty Little Liars videos. I've missed them. But I'm packing up to go to Europe for 6 months, and I thought, you know what? Let me do the end of Arc 2 in my bedroom before we change the background. I know change is scary, guys, but you know what? It's okay. We'll get through this. Today we'll be discussing Heartless and Wanted, books 7 and 8 of the Pretty Little Liars series. What's funny is I never read the acknowledgements in a book, but I did read the acknowledgements in Wanted, book 8. Turns out, book 8 was originally, when it was published, it was supposed to be the last book of the Pretty Little Liars series. We, in the year 2025, know that is not correct. It's only barely halfway through. There's so many more books to read. But it is the end of Arc 2. Why I mentioned that it was originally supposed to be the last book is because when I was reading book 8, I just remember thinking okay, this is giving very much finale, we're wrapping up things. I was so confused. I was like, there's more books to get through. What? It turns out it was written like a finale, which actually explains why I found Heartless a little boring. Just a tad bit. If you don't remember, end of book 7, the girls found Ian's body at the end of a gala happening at Spencer's house. Technically, Spencer found it, and the girls found Spencer. And then in the beginning of book 8, when they were trying to tell the police oh, Ian's dead, because if you don't remember, Ian was under house arrest for Allie's murder, which again is literally Garrett's storyline from the show. But when the girls got the cops, the body was no longer there, and they were called liars. They were like, oh, you girls are liars. You are lying. Well, yes. Book 8, Spencer gets to use Melissa's laptop, and then because she's using Melissa's laptop, she gets access to Melissa's IM. I was not a teenager during this era. I think I know what's going on. I think it's like a Facebook Messenger kind of thing, but only one account. There's no switch accounts function. Anyways, and she IMs with someone who she thinks is Ian. And at the end of book 8, when the girls are at a party at Radley, which is going from a mental institution into a hotel, it's becoming a hotel, just like in season 6 of the show, they find, Emily finds, Jason's name written in the visitor checklist for Radley. And Jason had just started dating Arya, but freaked out on her, showing her that he's not all mentally stable. And the girls had found out near book 7 and beginning of book 8 that Wilden and Jason were friends, and they're like, oh my god. And then A sends them a message being like, hey, about to make Spencer disappear. So they run to her, but before they do, Arya's father had moved near Spencer's house, right? So the whole book 8, I think especially, they had a time capsule where they had to decorate a piece of a flag, and Hannah had found a flag, and she decided to decorate it in the honor of Allison's stolen flag, which is how they all met and became friends. Technically, they're discussing how it's an homage to Allison, and they discovered discrepancies with the flag because Arya has the flag because Jason had stolen it and give it to her. And she's like, that's not what was on it. And Hannah's like, no, I took notes of what she said was on it. So they're like, this might be a clue. So Arya runs to get the flag, and Hannah and Emily go to get Spencer at the barn. But as they are inside the barn, IMing Ian as he's saying that Wilden and Jason are out to get him, they smell something. Gasoline or propane, I don't know. And the barn is on fire. As Arya's heading back to Spencer's barn, she finds a hooded figure trapped under a tree and helps them get out. And the girls also get out of the fire. And as the hooded figure thanks them, the hood falls off, and who do they see? Allison. Book 7 starts with the girls in the hospital due to smoke inhalation because, again, the barn went up on a fire. And for some reason, this is not that important, I'm just gonna say it, for some reason all of them, I obviously got a spare change of clothes because they were like at a formal dance, and for some reason all their parents brought sweater and jeans. I'm sorry, bring them sweatpants. I don't even like sweatpants, but bring them sweatpants, please. Jeans. I should mention, it's not that important, but I'll mention it, the flashback of the book, because every book starts with a flashback. It's literally just Mrs. De Laurentiis inviting the girls and asking them, like, hey, do you know where Allie is? Was she sad? Anyways, so they're at the hospital at Spencer's bed discussing what happened, and Emily's like, oh my god, we gotta save Allie, while the girls are like, girl, Allie's dead. The doctor said that because of the smoke inhalation, it must have been a group hallucination. So Emily reveals that she kept telling the cops, like, oh my god, Allison's alive, and they're like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why would you say that? And then Wilden comes into the room, and he's like, girls, are you okay? And they're like, we know what she did. Turns out they did not know what he did, because he actually had an alibi, and they're like, oh, well, this is awkward. This is awkward. Then he's like, stop saying Allison's alive. Honestly, fair advice. Solid advice. He's like, they already think you're liars and low-key unstable because of the whole Ian's body thing. Don't be doing this. Fair advice. Anyways, Emily does not stop. Emily's so stubborn, she listens to A, who sends her to Lancaster, Pennsylvania to start an Amish adventure. If you don't remember, in the last book, Emily was dating Isaac, this like church band singer, and they did the deed, and his mom was unstable. They had an enmeshment type of relationship, and when Emily was like, your mom cut my face out of a photo, she's crazy, he was like, maybe you're crazy. And then he saw her in Radley when she found the ledger, and he was like, actually, you're right. And she's like, well, yes, I don't want nothing to do with you. But originally they were supposed to go to a church-led type of field trip to Boston, and she uses that as an excuse to go to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. At this point of the book that I realized, when she, before, like in book 5, I think, when she went to live with her aunt and uncle, I realized the aunt and uncle might have been more Mormon than Amish, because I realized, like, Amish is the one where they can't use electricity and they have like a buggy instead of a car. My bad. But they didn't have enough kids to be Mormon, so I actually don't know. Maybe they were just eccentric. Anyways, I kid you not, this is not an over-exaggeration like last time. A actually sends Emily, like, gives her Amish clothes and sends her to Lancaster, Pennsylvania to be Amish for a week or something. There, when she's having her little American Girl Amish adventure moment, Emily meets Lucy Zook. Lucy had a sister named Leah who disappeared on Rumspringa in June 19th, 4 years prior. And Lucy says, like, nobody knows really what happened. Leah had a boyfriend who also disappeared on Rumspringa and wanted, not disappeared, like left, and wanted Leah to come with him, but nobody really liked him. They don't know what happened to Leah, but they did have, a funeral for her. There's not much to say about that. Emily kind of just found peace with the Amish for a little bit, and then she's like, no, I gotta jump on that Greyhound and go back home. And she does. But before she leaves, she finds out that Lucy's sister, Leah's boyfriend, who was also Amish, left on Rumspringa and wanted Leah to come with him, was Darren Wilden. It was at this point that I was confused, because I was under the impression Rumspringa happens around like when you're 17 and 18, but in the flashback of one of the books, book 5 or 6, Darren was already friends with Jason when they were in high school, so they were like 16. Wilden's alibi was that he was helping his uncle who he stayed with during high school, so I guess it's not too unbelievable. But yeah, so canonly in the book, Darren was just Amish, and now he's not. So basically the whole Leah thing makes Emily think that the person who was in the hole where they found Allie was not Allie, it was in fact Leah, which is confusing because Darren, when he came in the hospital room, said that they had already, DNA tested the body and it's 100% Allie, which I thought was so funny because I swear in the show they never did a DNA testing. So crazy. There were like Jason, there was their parents, like nobody, there was too many people related to Allie for them not to do a DNA test on that body, and that's all I'm gonna say. During this book, Hannah, my girl Hannah, has a different adventure. If you don't remember, in book 6 or 5, I think it was 6, Hannah did not actually receive text through the whole book. Because Hannah has switched her phone to a new phone, an iPhone, and had blocked A. And in the show, that would not have flied. That girl would have sent letters, posters. Are you kidding? A worked off technology. Like, sure, phones are great, but that little bitch sent notes. But for some reason, Hannah just didn't receive any notes or like any text. A was not begging for communication. Which, to be fair, I love Hannah. I love her in the books. I love her in the show. But she can ruin her own life. She really does not need much help with that. Also, maybe A was trying to be nice. The last A was her best friend that ran her over. Maybe she was just trying to be nice. Anyways, the niceties do not last because in this book, apparently, the school psychiatrist had noticed Hannah, which, come on, there's a lot of people in that school. It's like a middle school and a high school in one. Come on now. Notice Hannah might be suffering from PTSD. She is. She literally suffers from it as they are telling her this. And ED, which Kate had told Tom. And so they decide to send her to the preserve at Addison Stevens, which, by the way, made me think of Grey's Anatomy. But yeah, it's basically a mental institution, but it's not just for mental problems. Yeah, so they decide to send her there to receive help. I don't disagree that she needs help. I mean, like I said, she had a panic attack in front of them because the car getting run over by a car, and not just a car, an SUV will mess you up, I assume. So I don't disagree that she needs help for her AD and for her PTSD, but I don't agree that sending her away was the right choice. To be fair, if Tom had made any right choices, I would still hate it. But I just don't think so, because this is what's going to happen, and she says it too. When she leaves, it's just going to be Kate, Isabel, and Tom playing happy family in Ashley and Hannah's home. Also, something else to consider is, while this is like a nice institution, there's like freaking spas. Mental health had insane stereotypes, especially at this time. So it would have been like purely damaging to her reputation in many ways, not just like school reputation, to send her away. I think the right choice would have been to talk with a private therapist, because I did say the girls did grief counseling in book 5, I think. Yeah, book 5, because it was the first book of arc 2. And I did agree with that, because what they suffered as a group, but I also thought they should have gotten private therapy, because a lot of their like threats from A was based on personal things, so they should have also dealt with that. At the preserve, Hannah has a roommate called Iris. When Hannah moves in, the person tells her that nobody's gonna know what happened, who she is, because they've been here for a while, especially the girls that are floor. Why they say that is because while in the show, when they were getting, reported, it was just, the town paper. U.S. Weekly's for some reason involved. U.S. Weekly people, la la la. And I think it was U.S. Weekly that called the girls Pretty Little Liars. Yeah, book 7 and 8, that's the group name. They're getting called Pretty Little Liars by people. And I think it was U.S. Weekly that called the girls Pretty Little Liars. Yeah, book 7 and 8, that's the group name. They're getting called Pretty Little Liars by people. And I think it was U.S. Weekly that called the girls Pretty Little Liars. By people. And yeah, so a real news organization is bullying 17-year-olds. They're like, oh, they're liars. They lied about Ian's body and now they're saying Ali's alive. What a great time to send her away. Anyway, so yeah, supposedly nobody's supposed to know who she is. Her roommate is called Iris. Iris is also like really pretty and skinny. La la. I mentioned that because she mentions it. Something about Hannah I gotta mention. It's the reason people don't like her a lot is because they think she's too obsessed with like popularity, and she's like, I guess, too shallow. I gotta say, when she's like insulting other people, not exactly insulting, I guess. Like she meets this other girl, Tara, and her friends first, but she thinks they're freaks. But the reason she thinks that is whenever she thinks somebody's a freak, she kind of compares them to who she was at 13, which makes me think she's not exactly a bad person. It's just a person who has not healed from who she used to be. I mean, to think that any moment all the changes she made could be undone kind of proves her insecurities and her like feelings about others she deems less than is just projection. Private therapy would have done her wonders. Anyway, so she becomes friends with Iris, and Iris actually had a roommate called Courtney before, but she just left. So, they take some selfies, they hang out. Iris just has a bunch of magazines. They're also not allowed to communicate with people at this institution. Like, they take their phones away. So Hannah has no way of, communicating with anyone, which is crazy because she is 100% sure that this was A's doing. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. She does not believe a psychiatrist sent her here. She believes it was A. To be fair, so do I. I'm like, please, a school counselor does not care. A might, yeah. Anyways, so she's at this institution, and Tara does not like Hannah because Hannah ditched her within 5 minutes for Iris, her roommate. Weird beef to have when you've known someone for 5 minutes, but okay. Anyways, so Tara reveals something about Hannah. She says ex-best friend, and Hannah thinks it's about Mona, but it's actually about Allison. And so it gets revealed that Tara snuck in a copy of the US Weekly where they called her a pretty liar, which Hannah did not know because she was in the institution. And then she finds out Iris had a copy, and Iris is mad at Hannah for lying to her, and she's like, I didn't lie, I just didn't want you to think I was a freak. So, and then when Iris leaves after they make up, she finds the copy that Iris had in her bag, and then she looks through it and she realized, like, the photo I took with Iris, that's how they know I'm at the mental institution. Another thing, I don't think a newspaper can report that. That feels like breaking laws. I don't think they can be like, yeah, the 17-year-old at the mental institution. I don't think you can say that. What, are we not suing for libel anymore? Mind you, when she went to the mental institution, Tom was like threatening Kate to not tell, and the police like, oh, if the news finds out where she is, I'm gonna sue you. Lies. I don't trust you. And then when she looks at the photo that's like of her and Iris, but Iris's face cut out or whatever, she sees in the background of the photo there's a drawing of a girl who looks very familiar with a heart-shaped face, some blonde hair and blue eyes. She's like, oh my god, it's Allison. So she goes to confront Iris like, oh my god, like, you knew Allison, blah blah. And while that's happening, she gets arrested. It's okay, she's not the only one, because when Emily also got off the Greyhound bus after arriving to Rosewood, she got a text from A being like, okay, good girl, now go break into the Rosewood PD and get the DNA files. And while she's doing that, she too gets arrested. If you don't remember, in the last book, Spencer's bitchy grandma died, and in her will she said, "I'm leaving money only to my naturally born grandchildren," and Spencer did not get even a dime. So they were like, "What's going on?" So Melissa was like, "I don't know, the wording of the will and how our parents treat you, maybe you're adopted." And in that book, Spencer was talking to Andrew, her rival, and she said like, "Oh, I think I'm adopted," and they started dating. But besides that, he introduced her to a website where they connect adopted kids with their birth mothers, and she connects with a woman she thinks is their birth mother, Olivia Caldwell. And she meets Olivia, and she wants to move in with her, so she, gets Olivia's realtor's card, wires him her college money. Yeah, it was fake. The apartment didn't exist. Hell, even the building didn't exist. Olivia was a fake, and she lose all of her money in her college trust. Yep. And so in this book, because she almost died in the barn fire, and her parents were like really nice to her, and they're like, "I love you. We love you so much. We thought you died. Oh my God." And so she tells them what happened, and they're like, "It's okay, we can get the college money back." Also, Spencer is not adopted. When Melissa was born, her mom had complications with the birth, and if she was to have another child, it would endanger both the baby and her health. So they decided to get a surrogate. Olivia was not Spencer's birth mother, but a surrogate. And, yeah. Apparently, Olivia was low-key crazy when she was carrying Spencer also, and threatened to run to Canada. Not Europe? Yeah, run to Canada with the baby if they didn't give her more money. Okay. And they're like, "We were so sorry, we did not tell you this. We love you so, so much." And they're like really nice to her. She talks about how the dynamics flipped, because instead of Melissa being the golden child, it was Spencer. Mostly because they had found out Melissa had lied to the police about Ian's alibi, and they are pissed. Also, when Spencer and her mom are hanging out, she reveals that the reason she pushed Spencer so hard wasn't because she didn't love Spencer. She just wanted Spencer to be a leader, and she was kind of like upset that Spencer was okay being second best, and that's why she pushed her so hard. The lovely times do not last, unfortunately, because Spencer finds a photo in her parents' yearbook. Her mother had also revealed that they lied about how the parents met, because in fact her mother also went to Yale but had to drop out instead of becoming a lawyer because she was pregnant with Melissa, which actually that's when I realized that she wasn't a lawyer in this. That might be one of the changes in the show that I actually love, because I'm sorry, Veronica Hastings must be a lawyer. But yeah, she's not a lawyer in this version because she had to drop out for Melissa. And so when she's looking through the yearbook, her parents' yearbook, she does find a picture of her mother. She's like, "Oh, she really did go here." And she also finds a Polaroid hidden within it of a blonde pregnant lady, but the date says June 2nd, so she's like, "That's not when I was born." Like I said, the lovely times don't last well, because A tells Spencer to look through her dad's computer. And if you don't remember, when she was looking for her birth mother in her college fund, she had copied her dad's entire hard drive onto a CD. And so she looks through it, and she finds love letters, I guess you could say, from Peter to Jessica De Laurentiis. Yeah. And, well, let's just say Spencer finds out that Peter had kids with Jessica. And when she's IMing Ian, he says that, like, "Oh, I saw them, I caught them, and I told Melissa 2 weeks before Allie disappeared, and Allie knew because I told Allie." And so Spencer finds out from IMing Ian that Ian had found Jessica and Peter like having an affair and had told Allison. Melissa had just found out that night. Allison disappeared, and apparently Melissa was frantically looking for her mom and arguing with her dad. And so when she looks at the Polaroid again, she's like, oh my god, that's not Olivia like she previously thought, it's Jessica. So her mom sees her and she's like, we gotta go, Spencer. And when they're at the dinner, like her mom is there, her dad is there, Melissa's there, she reveals, she's like, how could you not tell me about the affair? And turns out Veronica did not in fact know about the affair. I know it's supposed to be a fancy restaurant, but they're standing in front of an Italian restaurant. I can't help think this whole confrontation is happening in front of an Olive Garden, but whatever. Yeah, so basically, Peter lets it slip that it's not just an affair. He didn't know about the kids. Spencer had already figured out from the Polaroid photo that Allison might be her sister. But yeah, so Jason might be her brother. Yeah, she thought that Veronica had killed Allison, because of that, the whole, like, Peter being the dad. Veronica did not know. And while this whole confrontation is happening, and Veronica's like, don't come back home, the police come and arrest Spencer. That's 3 out of 4. Arya, in the last 2 books, her mom had started dating Xavier, who's, like, in his 30s, and kissed, Arya, and Arya was not into that, and he was like, well, who's gonna believe you if you confess? So she's kind of estranged from her mom and living with Meredith and Byron. Meredith is pregnant, and so she decides to go to a seance to connect with Allie. While she doesn't believe that Allie's alive and that's who they saw, she believes that maybe they saw Allie because Allie's spirit's still around the realm. I will say Arya's plotline during books 7 and 8 was kind of leaning into Ravenswood, but Ravenswood when it was first introduced. I think the whole, like, Ravenswood being, like, a supernatural town Dean Winchester would visit, I did not like. Let's keep those two things separate. I'm not saying Rosewood was pretty grounded in reality, but come on. But I will say the supernatural-esque storyline Arya does have in this book, and I guess kind of a little bit into the next book, I actually don't mind. The whole dealings with mediums and psychics, I think putting that into a town that's supposed to be more grounded in realism is not actually that awful, It's not too bad. Now if they had brought vampires and ghosts, then I would be like, whoa. But mediums and psychics, I think, are fine. Anyway, so she goes to a seance, and when she's at the seance, she sees Noel. And during the seance, the person doing the seance is like, oh, you lost someone, la la, but it's like completely fake and not Allie. And she's like, you're fake. So she runs away, and the next day Noel shows up, mostly because Mike's there and they're friends. But before he goes to hang out with Mike is, by the way, a huge Noel and Arya shipper. He's like, oh, he wants you and I want this to happen. By the way, Mike is still dating Hannah. I would just like to remind everyone of that. And I would like to remind everyone because Arya is like, I don't know what's going on. By the way, while Hannah's at the mental institution, because they're not supposed to know where she is, everyone just thinks, before the article came out at least, everyone just thinks she's in Singapore with her mom. Anyways, so Noel reveals that he had an older brother. He already has 2, but I guess he had 3. An older brother, the oldest one, who offed himself when they were little. And that's why he went to the seance, just to talk to him. And apparently he's never told anyone this, so it's like a pretty big deal. And for some reason this makes Arya go like, wait, you're not shallow. Anyways, he reveals that he knows of a medium called Esmeralda who can help them connect with the dead. And she's like, I don't know. She does know because she decides to, start dating Noel. The dating thing is so weird in the Pretty Liars books because I can't tell if it's the high school aspect of it or just the books, but they all start dating fast. They never confirm if they're boyfriend and girlfriend except, well, we're a thing. How am I supposed to know that? Say, put it into words. But yeah, anyways, she decides to take Noel up on that offer, and they have to go to the gazebo spot where Allison's body was found. Spencer sees him, and she's like, girl, that I don't believe in that. But she's stubborn. She's like curious. She's like, what happened? Anyways, Esmeralda gives... Okay, so Esmeralda summons Allie's spirit into her body. And she's like, you got one question. And she's like, girl, who killed you? And Esmeralda writes in a note and like... So when they run to the car and she opens it, it says Allie killed Allie. Well, interesting. So she decides, with Noel's advice to go visit Allie at the gravesite, to talk to her again, but, just say goodbye and just sorry, because they all kind of feel ashamed that they wanted Allie gone. They're like, I mean, to be fair, Allie was a bitch, but they all feel ashamed about that. They're like, she was my friend, but at the same time, awful person. So when she's at the gravesite, she sees Jason, and before they can chat, he gets a phone call, so he goes away, and she's like, Allie, I'm so sorry, and she gets arrested at the gravesite, and they're like, Jason called your location, and Jason's like, I did not do that. And she's like, he's crazy, he was a Radley, and he's like, whoa. Shots fired at Jason for some reason. Yeah, so she gets arrested at the graveside. So, like I said, there's always a big event at the end of the book where they all connect, and the big event is them being arrested for some reason. They get arrested, and they're all in the jail cell, basically being like, okay, so what clues? Yeah, so they're like, who do we think killed Allie? Spencer was like, I was told it was my mother because of the affair, which apparently she did not know about. And Hannah's like, I thought it was this girl Iris, who for some reason had a drawing of Allie. And yeah, and the other ones are like, well, I thought it was Wilden because I went to the Amish farm. And Arya's like, no, Allie killed Allie, because that's what the psychic says. So they're like, guys, did A set us up? Did A set us up? Oh my god. Yeah, but it's okay, because they don't get arrested for long. They are literally let out 5 minutes later because circumstances changed. I mentioned about them being arrested that was so funny to me was the cops were so mean to them while arresting them, like literally ridiculing them, calling them liars, pretty liars, and then like to let them go 5 minutes later. That's so embarrassing. You, an adult person, is bullying a teenager, and then you have to let them go. Embarrassing. So basically there was this like side plot, but it's not a side plot. It was mentioned like twice. Apparently the pipes burst at the Kavanaugh house, and so there was workers fixing it. And something they recall is before Allison disappeared, the one day the gazebo workers were not there. She was glad because she was like, the gazebo workers are hitting on me, and they thought she was bragging. And yeah, it turns out they arrested this guy who worked on the gazebo for killing Allison. Also, they find out that he was working on the pipes at the Kavanaugh house, and he killed Jenna. Yeah, they found out Jenna died, and she was killed in the same way Allison was, just like in the construction site at her house. Move on. That was the end of book 7. Pretty quick. And before I move on to book 8, I will say this. I just finished a sitcom, and I wanted to watch something, and I feel like whenever I finish something so long, I want to rewatch something. So I have Hulu, so I went on it to watch something, and I was like, oh, should I watch Pretty Liars? I can't. I love Pretty Liars and I love reading the books, but it's really bad because the books are really good. And every time I watch, like I try to watch it after reading the books, I can't. Because the books have given me something the show does not. The lack of Ezra. I hate Ezra. And every time I open the damn show, his face is there. Also, I think I might also not like Toby. I might not. Low-key. The books have given us a Toby free zone, and I'm kind of like, oh. Oh. Also, it's kind of hard because in the show, like, they make you hate Jenna so bad. But, like, in the book, she's low-key an angel. Also, Jenna's death at the end of book 7 kind of reminded me of Maya, because she was kind of found in the same way, which leads me to think, why did they kill off Maya? That was unnecessary, because all of book 7 and 6, Maya was besties with Jenna. Like, they were always hanging out. So why did they have to kill off Maya? Book 8 is Wanted. It has Arya on the cover. Book 8 starts with a flashback of the girls at the sleepover. Though that was the flashback of book 1, this time it's more about the hypnosis that Allie did on the girls, like in the moment she left. So yeah, basically she tried to hypnose on the girls. It only worked on Emily and Hannah. It kind of knocked them out, and Arya was kind of awake. And Spencer didn't go for it at all because she feared that if she was like under hypnosis, she would let out that she kissed Ian. It's the scene of her kicking out Allie. So in book 8, for Spencer's chapters, her mother is pretty catatonic after finding out about the affair. And though when they found Jenna's body, Melissa was like really happy to see Spencer's alive and all that, that love has disappeared because she's mad at Spencer for the whole, destroying the family thing. Ugh, can't make one mistake. Oh my god. By the way, the format at which I talk about the books is usually I try to go through each girl's storyline. It's going to be a little difficult this book because they literally hang out. And a little something else as well. So I'm just going to say it how it is. We will do bullet points. Anyways, Hannah's whole being at the mental institution was in the newspaper, so everyone calls her psycho. Like I said, the stereotypes about mental wellness. Yeah, so she's kind of ousted as the queen bee, and Kate is pretty bullying her. All I gotta say is Kate, Naomi, and Riley bullying her. I would have thrown hands. Kate, especially living right next door, that pillow would have found its way onto her face, and that's all I'm gonna say on the matter. And you know how I said Tom was like, oh, if anybody finds out at school, Kate, I'm gonna punish you. He does not. He literally says, oh, well, what can I do? That pillow would have also found its way to his face. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, yeah, they're all bullying her and they're being mean to her, and while this is happening, Mike has a weird side plot where they sent around a picture of underwear from his locker that had skid marks on it, so he gets bullied. I don't get it, how that could be at the same level as everything else happening, but okay. Hannah dumps Mike. Emily finds her and is like, Mrs. De Laurentiis called me to meet them at their house. So she goes there, and Arya and Spencer are already there. And during a press conference, they reveal that there isn't just Jason and Allison, there's a third child. Allison had a twin. When the worst person you know has an identical twin. A lot of people who knew about the books knew about the storyline. I know I did even before I read it. Now that we know she has a twin, can I just say, the reason book 7 was a tad bit boring for me was because I did know about the whole twins thing, and every time they tried to be like, oh, this person who looks like Allie in my dream but like a little older, oh la la, yeah, she had a twin, and for some reason their subconscious knew that. The twin's name Courtney. Turns out Courtney was at a mental institution this whole time, but that's not what they say, obviously. At the press conference, they're like, oh, she was in the hospital because she wasn't feeling well. So she, like, signals for the girls to meet her in the house, and she's like, I know who you guys are because my sister told me about you guys and, like, how you guys were friends and la 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 la. And apparently she's gonna start attending Rosewood High with them, or Rosewood Day. Why did I say Rosewood High? Rosewood Day. So obviously, because she looks exactly like Allison, Emily is like, wait, wait, whoa. And the girls are like, do we trust her? Do we not? What's happening? It's okay, because as soon as Courtney arrives at Rosewood Day, she's like instantly popular because she has a charm of Allison. She kind of takes Hannah's spot with Naomi, Riley, and Kate. You know, she's popular. She's hanging out. When Hannah comes home, and the girls are calling her psycho, mind you, can I just say, Hannah has psycho written on her locker. There's someone trying to friend her on Facebook called Hannah Psycho Marin. This proves my point that sending her to a private mental institution was not the solution. Sending her away, come on. Anyways, she receives Fashion Week tickets from her mom, and she is like, okay, I guess you girls can come with me. Unfortunately, they were not from her mom. They were fake, which makes them, antagonize her more. But when they antagonize her and leave her at the steps of the Met alone, Courtney comes back and is like, hey girl, it's actually me, Allie. Yeah. And we're gonna take those bitches down, me and you. If you don't remember, Allison's besties before the liars was Naomi and Riley until she dumped them out of nowhere, and she's like, the reason I dumped them was they did something shady. Yeah, that's why I dumped them, and now me and you are gonna get revenge on them. Yes. And then Courtney, or Allie, whatever you want to call her, also has gym class with Emily, and she hits on her, and then she's like, can I come over to your house? And when they're at Emily's house, nobody's home, and she kisses Emily, she's like, I wanted to do that again. And she's like, excuse me? And she's like, okay, wait, hold on, I got a secret to say. I'm Allie. And Emily, I'm gonna be honest, she does this with all four of them, obviously, but Emily's the most easily convinced. She actually told Emily first, because again, Emily's the most easily convinced. She's like, okay, if you say so, yes, okay. And then Spencer comes over to Allie's house, and she's like, we're half sisters, and la la la. I want to hang out with you because my, full-blooded sister is kind of being a bitch. So they go to a club with Emily, and there she's like, Spencer, I'm actually not Courtney. I'm Allison. This is her taking her off the mask. It's kind of funny for her to be like, I am not Courtney. I am Allison. And Spencer's like, excuse me? And then they all she has to do is mention one memory, and then they're like, oh, okay, never mind. How else would you know that? Yeah, it's you. So, yeah. So, the last person she has to convince is Arya, and Arya is, not happy about it. Even when she thinks Allie's Courtney, she reveals that in the flashback, because she had a crush on Noel in middle school, and when she told Allie came back the next day being like, wait, I told him you liked him, and he said he didn't like you, but I think I like him, so can I date him? And she dated Noel, and then dumped him 2 dates later. would have hit that bitch. But that's just me. That's just me. Apparently they had study hall together, Noel and Arya and Courtney. And so when Noel and Courtney are interacting right in front of her, she's like, this reminds me of how Allie did it. Me no likey. She also no likey how Noel is interacting with Courtney. And Noel goes to this support group for like grief, but for like losing siblings. And so when she's picking him up, Courtney is there. And she's like, I don't like that. And then he's like, you can drive her home, right? I don't like that. She does. And then like they talk in the car and she's like, she's not fully warming up. She's just like, I'm not going to be as bitchy, but still, I don't like you. Fair. But she's like, there's something off. And when she's dropping Courtney off, she sees Melissa there. And that's the side plot of the book. For some reason, Melissa's always there. She's just stalking Courtney for some reason. They keep seeing her. Arya finds the wishing well that was drawn on Allison's flag, which I gotta say, the things that you think are unimportant in this book, like in these books, really come back, because the wishing well was drawn on Allison's flag and they couldn't figure out why. When Iris had seen the flag on Hannah's flag, which she had brought in the mental institution, she drew it on the wall, and now they find out that, well, we find out that that was Allison's favorite spot to be for some reason. Gotta respect Sarah Shepard. Her pen, it knows no competition. It's really good. No plot holes. There's always a reason for things. And Allie's at this well and Arya finds her. She's like, hey, I'm actually not Courtney. I'm Allie and I'm so sorry about bullying you about your dad. And Arya's like, what? You're insane. You're crazy. No, she believes she's Allie. She's just like, no, I'm not accepting that apology. You're crazy. Anyways, when she's leaving, she finds this little envelope with a Polaroid in it that has picture of the girls at the sleepover getting a hypnosis. Opening is the pictures she finds are very interesting, because if you don't remember the guy that was arrested for murdering Jenna, Ian, and Allison, William Ford, news was saying that he had these pictures and they have found these messages that were from A to the girls on his computer, and they were like, oh, he's the killer. But slowly but surely, the whole thing about him being the killer is getting like chipped at, because they're like, he has alibis for Allison's murder, or for, you know, Ian's murder, Jenna's murder. Oh, but she finds this Polaroid from like the news just like on the floor. So what the hell? But in this picture she actually sees somebody's face. And she's like, I don't want this to be like Ian's ring. How when they arrested me at the cemetery, they were like, we know you have Ian's ring. So she turns it in, and it's like on the news, and they're trying to find like whose face it is, because they thought it might be Billy's, because Billy is also blonde. Why wouldn't he be? But in the reflection, while they can't see whose face it is, they're like, those are feminine features. This is a woman. A woman did this. The news reports on the Polaroid, Spencer's like, is this Melissa? It might be. It might be. Arya's driving her brothers to the mall. They see the girls, the liars, hanging out with Allison, and she kind of feels left out, but she's like, but Allison's a horrible person. I cannot forgive her. But she does feel left out. She's like, they look like how we used to look like in middle school, hanging out, except, you know, I'm not there now. Girl, who's that on? So the girls are planning to go to the Poconos like they used to do with Allison, because their lake house or summer house is there, after the dance. So when they're at the dance, Emily's upset because she had asked out Allison to the dance, but Allison was like, my life's a mess and I don't want to drag you down with me. But she was like dancing with James Freed, and she was like, whoa, why do you keep leading me on? And to remedy that situation, Allison makes out with Emily. Great communication. Also at the dance, Hannah and Allison's brilliant plan was before Hannah had given them the fake fashion tickets, apparently the girls were drunk on Tom's rum, so Allison had gotten them to write love letters to their crushes. Apparently Kate's crush is Sean, who got passed around from Hannah to Arya. For a virgin who's, you know, big on celibacy, He's kind of a hoe. Anyways, so their brilliant plan is for them to Xerox the love letters that Naomi, Kate, and Riley wrote and pass it around because it's like super embarrassing. And it works. And when this is happening, Hannah confronts Naomi and Riley, and she's like, this is just revenge from me and Courtney for what you guys did to Allie. And they're like, girl, what do we do to Allie? She dumped us for you. And she's like, well, you did something for her to dump you guys. And she's like, no, one day she just showed up and she just dumped us. So Arya is obviously, still mad at Allie. But when she comes out of the bathroom, everyone's like laughing and giggling. And then I think it was Mason Briers that when he sees Arya, he's like, oh. And she's like, what the hell is going on? She sees Noel and Allison making out. And in that moment, Allison like slaps Noel, and she's like, "Oh, you can't kiss me. Arya's my friend. What do you think you're doing?" And Noel's like, "What the hell is going on?" And Arya like breaks up with him. She's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And as she's storming out, Allison's like, "You are my friend, and I would never do that to you. I don't know why he did that. Oh my god." And they make up, and Arya's like, do you have one more spot for Poconos? And Allison's like, of course. So they were already going to meet at her car anyway, so they meet at her car and go to the Poconos in a secluded lake house. Anyway, so they're at the lake house and they're just hanging out, they're just chilling. It's like old times. When they're about to go in the hot tub, it's apparently like really cold. It's February. Anyways, they're just chatting. They're like, I miss you guys. Oh my god, I miss you too. And they're like, it's like old times for them. That's what this book has just been. Yeah, and they're like, we should have never lost contact. And then they're like, where's Allison? We're all in this hot tub that's freezing. She's not here. What the hell? And they go to find her, and she's like, guys, chill. She's like, well, the hot tub's really cold, so we can't do that. But my therapist at the preserve said that, to move on with my grief, recreate what happened the night, my life changed. So, relive it and change it or whatever. And she's like, maybe it might help you guys too. So they decide to go to a bedroom upstairs and do the hypnosis thing again. And she's like, now this time everyone takes part. And Spencer was the one that didn't do it in the first place anyways, but she decides to, because Allison's her sister and they got back the old times, she decides to do it. And she has a memory of the original hypnosis night, and she like sees the ring on Allison's finger that night, and she's like, I swear it said C. What the hell? Yeah, so anyways, when they wake up, the room is hot, the door is locked. Allison is not there. And before they woke up, actually, in Spencer's dream, Allison was like, you are so stupid. You deserve this. And then she rots into a carcass. Actually, this is kind of when I realized how dark the books are compared to the show. The show was kind of unserious in nature. It was like camp. In a lot of things it did. Like, literally, there was dead people. Yeah, but they were, like, preserved perfectly. Do you know what I mean? But the descriptions in this book, it's like hella dark. Honestly, I'm gonna say it, they need to reboot it. Anyways, when they wake up and Allison's gone, they're like, oh my god, what happened? And Spencer's like, there's something wrong with Allie. And they're like, what? And Arya's like, wait, Allie killed Allie. What the psychic said. Then an envelope slips under the door. And they're like, guys, I don't usually read scenes from the book. I like to, recap it. But I have to read this letter to you guys. So it says, 2 4 bitches from A. And Emily's like, oh my god, it's Billy. And Spencer's like, girl, it is not Billy. Then Emily's like, oh, then it's Melissa. Because they're like, Melissa killed Allie. And, well, let me read you the letter. Once upon a time, there were 2 beautiful girls named Allie and Courtney. But one of them was crazy, and as you know, with a few magical twists of fate, Allie became Courtney for a while. But what you don't know is Courtney became Allie too. You heard me right, pretty little losers. And it's all because of you. Remember when you stalked me in my backyard for the time capsule flag? And remember that girl who trotted out to the lawn and talked to you? That wasn't me. As you so astutely figured out, Courtney was home switching from the Radley to the preserve that weekend. And how poor little Courtney didn't want to go. She had her neat, crazy little life at the Radley. She didn't want to start over in a new hospital. If she had to start over somewhere, it was going to be in Rosewood. And start over she did. She was supposed to go to the preserve the very morning she saw you skulking around my yard, and man, did she jump on the chance fast. One minute, she and I were arguing. I was so happy she was on her way out. And the next, she was in the yard, pretending to be me, talking to you guys like you were BFFs. Talking about my flag as if she hadn't been the one who stolen it first and ruined my masterpiece with that stupid wishing well. How was I supposed to know that everyone, my mom, my dad, and even my brother, would think it was me out there and Courtney inside? How was I supposed to know my mom would grab me in the hall and say, "It's time to go, Courtney"? I pleaded with her that I was Allie, but my mom didn't believe me. All because Courtney took my A's for Allie ring when I wasn't looking. My mom yelled outside to the girl who wasn't Allie that we were leaving, and the girl who wasn't Allie turned, smiled, and said, "Bye." Of course we went. Courtney got my perfect life. Off we went. Courtney got my perfect life, and I got her wrecking one, just like that. She ruined everything. She put her lips all over Ian Thomas. She nearly got arrested for blinding prissy Jenna Kavanaugh. She ditched Naomi and Riley, the coolest girls at school. But the very worst thing she did in my name was choose 4 new best friends in their place. Girls I knew I wouldn't look at twice. Girls who weren't special in any way. Girls she knew would fall over her, desperate for the opportunity to be in her exclusive club. The girls who helped her get everything she wanted. Any of this sound familiar, ladies? But don't worry, this little fairy tale can still have a happy ending for me. I saw to it that my sister paid for what she did, and now so will you. I tried to burn you, I tried to make you crazy, I tried to have you arrested. I've even messed with you this week. Surprise! I flung myself at Arya's boyfriend. I sent poor Hannah fake tickets to a certain fashion show. I let Em believe there was a happily ever after for us after all. And Spencer, I have a surprise for you. Look closely, it's right under your nose. I suppose I should thank Courtney for her meticulous diary keeping. It helped me and Mona so much. It all led up to this big moment. The curtain's about to go up, bitches, and the show's about to begin. Get ready to meet your maker. It won't last long. Kisses. A. The real one. So that's crazy. Let's summarize that paragraph we just read. Yeah, so her original thing of saying like, oh, she replaced me the day of the sleepover was incorrect. She was replaced the day the girls met Allie, like talked to her for the first time in their lives when they came to steal a flag. Also about what she said in the flashback of book 5, if I'm not mistaken, when the day the flag thing was announced, Ian was like flirting with Allison, and they remembered that actually in that memory, the more they thought about it, she did not look like she was flirting with Ian. She kind of looked disgusted with him. The twin thing of their memories and the dreams they have of Allison throughout the book. Seeing Allison that's like older and younger. I don't know how their subconscious knew that, but yeah. So the girls open the closet, and Spencer's surprise is Ian's corpse and Melissa. Turns out Allie, while Melissa was stalking her, Allie had kidnapped Melissa because Melissa had just gone to the preserve at Addison Stevens and talked to Iris and, found all that detail about how Courtney was Allie and Allie was Courtney, and that's why she was telling Spencer not to hang out with Courtney. Yeah, so Allie kidnapped her and set the house on fire. May I just say, this is the second one she's done. There was a fire in the book previous, and now there's a fire now. The first one she almost died in. What makes her think this fire is about to go better? Come on now. Come on. Yeah, anyways, they find a way to get downstairs through, a secret doorway. in the bedroom they're stuck in. So they get through, and again, the house is on fire. And they somehow find a way to run out of the house and escape. Allie does not. They don't see her with them, and they're like, oh my gosh, she burned under the house. And they're just sitting there because, like, they have no self-reception. They're, like, secluded. And they're just sitting there in front of the house, just watching it go up in fire, just like, oh, don't, the glass shattered. Ooh. Girl, walk away. Walk a little further. Like, you guys almost got splattered with the glass. Walk a little further, I would say. Or outside the house, just being like, wait, what did we just learn? First of all, not one of them got the letter of Allie confessing to her crimes. Second, Allison killed Courtney and Jenna. Apparently, the reason she killed Jenna, they think, is because when the baby shower for Meredith was happening, because Arya and Jenna were now neighbors, she saw Jenna, and Jenna had already revealed too much, because if you remember, the reason Courtney had helped Jenna light the treehouse on fire was because she also had sibling problems. And I think I mentioned this, Emily had received a photo from A of Jenna, Allie, and another blonde girl, which she thought was Naomi at first, but actually now they realize it was Jenna, Allison, and Courtney. So Jenna was the only other person besides the De Laurentiis family that knew about the twin thing. And she probably knew that, the switch had happened. And she might have not talked, but she might have also. So she killed her before she did. Yeah, they're all just there like, oh. Oh. And mind you, the house is on fire. And they're like, oh, she's in there. Again, that's kind of on her. Girl, the first fire didn't work. You thought the second one would? You're stupid. Not to, blame. No, I'll blame. She's stupid. Why would she do that? The first time it didn't work, and the second time you think it would. You're stupid. And then, don't worry, though. The firemen do arrive, and they're like, do you think she's in there? And they're like, girl, no one's surviving that fire. So then we get the last 4 chapters of the book, each of the girls' POVs. Like I said, this book was supposed to be the last book of the Pretty Liars series originally. So it's kind of written like a few months later. Oh, happy ending. So I will say it like that, but just remember, it is not the last book of the series. Anyways, the girls are now friends, because after the first fire and every time they had a traumatic experience together, they would just, like, stop being friends. But I guess this one was quite traumatic, that they were like, why did we stop being friends? We should have never done that. Correct. Oh, my God. Anyways, so the few weeks later, they're still friends. They're just hanging out at Steam. Though Hannah's no longer popular, or, like, Queen Bee, she says, they have actually, all 4 of them have done, like, interviews and photo shoots with, like, people and whatever. Girl, you might be famous. Forget popular. Anyways, Mike and Hannah did get back together. It's okay. They're all hanging out. Actually, Ashley, because she had called Ashley being like, why did you give me fake tickets? And Ashley was like, girl, I did not send you tickets. So after that, Ashley had gotten worried, and she found out Tom had sent her daughter to a mental institution, and she did not like that. And she called her from the airport being like, girl, I'm coming home. Why didn't you tell me about this? His little ass and his little family is getting kicked out. Not my daughter. She was like, we have to be better, okay? We can't do with this no communication thing. We have to do better. That's my girl. And she comes home, and she kicks Tom, Isabel, and Kate out. She's like, how dare you kick my daughter out of my house? How dare you? Yeah, and they're close now. Arya's mom calls when she finds out about the second fire, and she's like, what the hell? Oh, yeah, also, Ashley didn't know about the first fire either. She was pretty pissed. But, yeah, Ella's like, what the hell? And then she's like, why weren't you close to me? And Arya's like, your boyfriend's a pervert. And she's like, what? Yeah, and dumps Xavier. And she's like, nothing will ever come between us ever again. Meredith has her baby when they're at Steam. They find out Meredith has given birth, is in labor. And they go to the hospital. The liars come with her and her brother. And, it's a girl, And when they're at the hospital after they leave, Arya's in the waiting room, and Noel and her get back together because he comes to the waiting room. And Spencer and her family, if you remember, it was like really shaky because Peter is a cheater. And after the whole fire thing, and Melissa and Spencer almost both dying in the fire, they are once again close. They're sisterly. She even invites Spencer to come stay with her at her house. While Peter and Veronica are separated, they are like not fully divorced. They're trying to work it out. They decide they're all gonna have family dinners, and at family dinners they're not gonna do like competitiveness like they did before. They're just gonna be family. Let's see how long that lasts. Anyways, for Emily has a shrine in her room to Allie, and when the fire at the barn had happened, Amaya had found the wallet that Emily had buried for the whole grief counseling thing that Allie had given her, and she takes that and she puts all the pictures of Allie she had in her shrine and buries it next to Courtney. Well, technically she didn't know Allie, she knew Courtney's grave. And apparently after the fire, the De Laurentiis family ran out of town. Nobody knows where they are. And the shrine for Allie, Courtney, whoever, went down because they were like, we don't want to be associated with that bitch. Yeah, and Emily buries the memories of the Allie she knew, and she finally says goodbye. And the book ends with this weird epilogue where it's some girl, it's not the Liars, we don't know who it is, and some new girl walks into her school called Laura St. Delians. You can tell the book 7 and 8 were written because the book series was ending originally. I wonder why she decided to make the third arc. But yeah, next book recap of book 9 and 10 is going to be a new arc. Thank you for watching. Next books we'll be discussing 9 and 10, third arc. We're even further from where the show was. Thank you so much for watching. I love you.